Hello, and welcome to Sleepy Starlight Channel. I'm so glad you're here tonight. Maybe your day was long, or maybe you're simply looking for a calm voice to help you unwind and drift into sleep. Tonight, we'll take a gentle journey where science becomes a story and curiosity leads us softly into dreams. When Earth was young, it spun like a dancer caught in the first rush of music. Its surface was molten, its air thick with vapor and fire, and the rhythm of its turning was almost frantic. A single day lasted only a few hours, perhaps 6, perhaps a little more, a blur of sunlight and darkness passing in quick succession. Back then, time itself seemed impatient. The newborn Earth glowed faintly red from heat, a restless sphere wrapped in a haze of steam and dust. The moon did not yet exist. The oceans had not yet formed. The continents were only ideas hidden inside stone, waiting to rise. Everything was movement, liquid rock shifting, winds howling across an atmosphere still building itself. And through it all, the planet spun. Fast, steady, wild. It was the leftover motion of creation, the momentum of the collapsing cloud of dust and gas that gave birth to the solar system. Every planet kept a trace of that original spin, but Earth's was particularly vigorous. Gravity pulled it into shape, but inertia kept it turning over and over, as if the universe itself had given it a gentle push and whispered, "Keep going." As the planet cooled, the crust began to form, a thin shell, fragile and temporary. Volcanoes tore through it constantly, releasing gases that built the first atmosphere. And somewhere in that chaos, a great collision occurred, the one that would change Earth forever. A smaller world, roughly the size of Mars, struck Earth at an angle, a glancing blow that tore away a massive portion of the outer layers. The impact was unimaginable. Oceans of molten rock rose and fell like tides. Mountains vaporized in moments. The entire sky burned. But from that destruction came the moon. The debris thrown into space gathered, drawn together by gravity, circling Earth until it coalesced into a glowing companion. At first, the moon was close, so close that it filled much of the sky, appearing 20 times larger than it does now. It tugged fiercely at the newborn seas, which had begun to condense from the planet's cooling vapor. The tides it raised were enormous, hundreds of meters high, crashing and retreating like the breath of the world itself. That pull between Earth and Moon began a slow, invisible conversation, a transfer of energy that continues even now. As the moon's gravity stirred the oceans, it created friction, a gentle braking force on Earth's rotation. The planet's spin began to slow. Days lengthened, first to 8 hours, then 12, then 18. The moon, taking that borrowed energy, moved outward, inch by inch, year by year. It still does, drifting away by about 4 centimeters each year, a silent, constant retreat. This tidal dance has shaped everything. Without it, Earth would have remained a world of short, restless days and fierce winds. Instead, the slowing spin brought calm. The atmosphere softened, weather patterns stabilized, the cycles of light and darkness grew longer, allowing the planet to breathe. Over hundreds of millions of years, the surface transformed. The molten plains hardened into crust, then fractured into plates. Oceans spread wide and deep, filling the scars of impacts. The sky, once choked with ash and vapor, cleared enough for sunlight to reach the surface. And in that light, something new began: life. The earliest organisms arose in the shallow seas, where day and night shaped the rhythm of survival. Even the simplest cells learned to follow the planet's turning. They absorbed energy in the light and rested in the dark. their internal chemistry beating in time with the Earth's rotation. That rhythm, day and night, light and shadow, became the first biological clock long before hearts began to beat or lungs learned to breathe. In that sense, the slowing of Earth's spin was not just a geological event, it was an act of balance. The universe had taken a chaotic, racing world and given it time to pause, and in that pause, life found space to begin. As eons passed, the continents moved, supercontinents formed and broke apart, mountains rose, eroded, and rose again. Through it all, the planet continued to slow, but almost imperceptibly. By the time complex life appeared, a day lasted about 20 hours. By the age of the dinosaurs, it was close to 23. Now, in our era, the day is 24 hours long. It seems fixed, but it is not. Even now, the rotation slows by a few milliseconds each century. It is so slight that we barely notice, but time itself is changing beneath our feet. This gradual deceleration affects more than just the ticking of clocks. It alters the balance of the planet. As the rotation slows, Earth's equator, once swollen by centrifugal force, relaxes slightly. The oceans shift, redistributing their mass. The crust adjusts, releasing subtle tremors that no one feels. The planet is, quite literally, stretching into its older self. There's a strange poetry in that, a world born from violence, now aging into calm. Each day a little longer, each spin a little slower. It is as if the Earth itself is learning to breathe more deeply with time. Imagine standing on one of those ancient shores, billions of years ago. The moon would hang enormous and golden in the sky, casting silver paths across a restless sea. The tides would roar, the wind would scream, and the horizon would tremble with lightning. A single day might see dozens of sunsets. The air would shimmer with heat. The water would boil and cool in cycles of fury and silence. And yet, through all of that chaos, the planet kept spinning, shaping its rhythm, preparing for the future it would one day host. Now imagine standing in the same place today. The waves rise and fall gently. The moon, distant and quiet, pulls on the oceans with a softer hand. The day unfolds slowly in measured light. The world has aged gracefully. Its pulse has slowed, but it still beats. This slowing is not an end. It is a continuation, the next chapter in a story of motion that began billions of years ago. As the moon continues to drift away, Earth's rotation will keep easing. 100 million years from now, a day will be a few minutes longer. 1 billion years from now, perhaps 30 hours. Eventually, far in the future, Earth and the moon may become tidally locked, showing each other only one face, turning together in perfect rhythm. If that day ever comes, the skies will look different. The moon will hang unmoving above one hemisphere, fixed forever in place. On the other side of the planet, it will never rise. The tides will freeze into balance. The dance that began with fire will end in stillness. But long before that, other forces will take over. The sun will grow brighter. The seas will boil. The air will thin. And yet the memory of motion, of spin and balance, of day and night will remain written in stone. The slow spin of Earth is not just a physical fact, it is a symbol of patience, of transformation. It reminds us that everything, even time itself, evolves. The planet does not resist change, it accepts it, softens with it, grows wiser with it. Each rotation is a reminder of continuity. Each sunset, each dawn is the echo of that ancient rhythm, the same rhythm that once turned the molten world beneath a sky of fire. And as long as Earth turns, no matter how slowly, that rhythm will go on, steady, calm, and eternal. As Earth's spin slowed, the rhythm of the entire planet began to change. The alteration was so gradual that no single moment could mark it. No line divides the fast world from the slow one. It happened like aging, like the soft deepening of breath over a lifetime. Yet the effects reached everywhere, in the air, in the oceans, in the magnetic heart of the world itself. The first great consequence was wind. When Earth spun faster, the Coriolis force, that invisible twist created by rotation, was stronger. Storms were sharper, winds more violent. The atmosphere moved in tight, fast loops around the planet, carrying heat unevenly, thrashing across seas that boiled and cooled in cycles of extremes. As the spin slowed, those loops unwound. The air began to move more gently, spreading warmth and moisture with softer hands. The violence of weather gave way to rhythm, and the climate began to find balance. The lengthening of days also changed how sunlight reached the surface. In the early world, day and night passed too quickly for heat to settle. The surface never had time to cool completely before sunrise returned. But as the hours stretched, the nights deepened. The planet learned to rest, to release its heat into the blackness of space before the next dawn arrived. That daily pulse, the breathing in of sunlight and the breathing out of night, became slower, steadier, more like the world we know. This shift in light shaped not just the air, but the stone. Rocks expand in warmth and contract in cold. Their cracking and weathering follow the cycle of temperature. A faster spin meant faster stress, more cracking, more motion. As the planet's rotation eased, its surface could settle. Mountains eroded more slowly. Deserts formed in predictable belts. Rainfall followed calmer patterns. The world's face, once raw and restless, began to sculpt itself into permanence. Beneath that calm surface, deeper changes stirred. At Earth's center, iron swirled in a molten core, spinning with the planet, generating its magnetic field, a vast, invisible shield that protected the surface from solar winds. That magnetic field was born of motion, a dynamo powered by the turning of the planet's liquid heart. As rotation slowed, so did that churning dance, altering the field's strength and rhythm. The magnetic poles began to wander. Sometimes they even reversed, flipping north to south and back again, as if the planet were exhaling and inhaling across millennia. Each reversal left traces in the rocks, bands of magnetized minerals frozen into place, quiet signatures of the Earth's heartbeat through time. The slowing spin also reshaped the connection between sky and sea. The tides, once titanic, grew more measured as the moon drifted farther away. The oceans no longer surged across continents with each pass of the moon. Instead, they fell into rhythm, a steady pulse of rising and falling that marked the hours. Marine life, sensitive to even the gentlest shifts, evolved to this pattern. Creatures learned to follow the tide as faithfully as day and night. Whole ecosystems began to breathe in tune with the rotation of the planet. In that way, slowing rotation was not just a physical change, it was a foundation for stability. With steadier tides and longer days, the seas became the world's memory. They stored heat, carried nutrients, and nurtured life in endless cycles. If Earth had kept spinning quickly, its oceans might never have found this calm. The turbulence would have torn away the fragile beginnings of life. It is easy to imagine the planet as static, solid, unchanging, but it is not. It has always been dynamic, a vast symphony of movement. Even now, as the days lengthen by fractions of seconds over centuries, that motion continues to shape every part of its being. The slow spin affects the very shape of the planet. When it turned faster, centrifugal force bulged the equator outward. The Earth was not a perfect sphere, but slightly flattened at the poles and widened at the waist. As the spin eased, that bulge softened. The oceans adjusted, flowing subtly toward the poles. This redistribution of mass shifted the planet's balance, changing the length of days, the orientation of the axis, even the wobble of the seasons. It was as if the entire Earth exhaled, letting its roundness settle into new repose. To an observer millions of years ago, these changes would have been invisible. But to the planet itself, they were profound. Each turn, each fraction of slowing was a step in an endless evolution toward calm. The air grew cooler, the nights deeper, the days longer, the tides gentler. The Earth was teaching itself equilibrium. That equilibrium shaped life in ways too subtle for early creatures to know. As days grew longer, photosynthesis, the process by which plants turned sunlight into energy, could thrive. More daylight meant more food, more oxygen, more opportunity for life to spread across the surface. And at night there was time to rest, to heal, to prepare for another dawn. The balance between light and dark became the pulse of existence itself. Even human time, the way we count our hours, measure our days, is an echo of that ancient deceleration. The 24-hour day is not arbitrary. It is the legacy of the planet's long, graceful slowing. Our sense of rhythm, work and sleep, activity and rest, mirrors the planet's own gradual shift toward balance. The same pattern that governs tides and seasons governs our thoughts and habits, written into our biology. Sometimes we imagine that the Earth's rotation is perfect, steady, eternal. But even now, it wavers. Earthquakes, melting ice, shifting air. All these can subtly change how the planet turns. The massive energy released by a large earthquake can shorten the day by microseconds. The melting of polar ice redistributes weight and slightly alters the spin. Every movement of matter, from mountain to ocean to storm, affects the rhythm of the planet's rotation, though imperceptibly to us. We live inside that rhythm, part of it, not apart from it. Each gust of wind, each wave, each tectonic tremor is a note in the quiet, continuous music of a planet turning through space. There is something deeply comforting in that continuity. It reminds us that time is not a clock but a tide. The slowing of Earth's spin is not decay, it is refinement. It is the story of energy finding stillness, of chaos softening into harmony. Far into the future, that process will continue. The moon will keep drifting away, the tides will grow weaker, the Earth's rotation will slow to a gentler rhythm than we can imagine. Perhaps a day will last 30 hours, perhaps more. The sunrises will be farther apart, the nights longer, the winds calmer, and long after humanity is gone, the planet will keep turning, slowly, gracefully, endlessly. Its spin will whisper of ancient beginnings, of fiery birth and quiet aging, of balance achieved over billions of years. If planets can age, then this is how they do it, not with sudden decline, but with slow and deliberate grace. Each rotation is a heartbeat, each fraction of slowing is a sigh, and every sigh is a promise that nothing in the universe is ever still, but everything is always finding its way toward peace. Deep beneath the mountains and oceans, beyond the reach of sunlight or wind, lies the beating heart of the Earth. It is a world of pressure and fire, of metal in slow, liquid motion, and though we cannot hear it, cannot feel it beneath our feet, it moves in rhythm with the planet's spin. The slow turning of Earth above is echoed in the deep, unseen movements below, a connection that has lasted since the planet's birth. The core is divided into two parts, a solid inner sphere of iron and nickel, and a molten outer layer that flows around it like a restless sea of metal. This motion, stirred by heat escaping from the planet's center, creates something extraordinary: Earth's magnetic field. It is a vast, invisible shield wrapping the planet in protection against the solar wind, deflecting charged particles that would otherwise strip away the atmosphere. That field is born of movement, of the way the molten iron turns, swirls, and spins within the core. And that motion, in turn, is guided by the rotation of the Earth itself. When the planet spun faster, the liquid metal inside moved with greater vigor, creating a stronger magnetic field. As the spin has slowed, so too has the churning heart of iron calmed, its rhythm becoming more measured, more deliberate. The result is a field that shifts and drifts, waxing and waning over time. Sometimes it grows weaker, sometimes it reverses entirely, flipping north to south and back again. Each reversal takes thousands of years, yet it happens regularly across geological time. The rocks on the ocean floor record these events like tree rings, their magnetic minerals aligning with the field as they cool, freezing its orientation forever. To study them is to read the pulse of the planet, to see the way it breathes in cycles of magnetism and silence. Even the core itself rotates slightly differently from the rest of the Earth. Seismologists have found that the inner sphere of solid iron turns at its own pace, sometimes a little faster, sometimes a little slower, as if the heart and body of the planet are never perfectly synchronized. It is a slow dance between layers, gravity, pressure, and magnetism, all keeping time with the Earth's overall spin. As the outer world has slowed, the deep world has followed. The heat rising from the core now escapes more slowly, guiding the motion of the mantle above it, the layer of rock that moves like thick syrup over vast timescales. These movements create convection currents that drive the continents themselves, pushing them apart and pulling them together. The slow spin of the planet helps regulate that process, maintaining the steady rhythm of plate tectonics, the endless reshaping of land and sea. In the early, faster spinning Earth, tectonic activity was more violent. The crust cracked and folded rapidly. Volcanoes erupted with constant fury. Now, as the spin has eased, the movements of the crust have become slower, more predictable, less explosive. The planet has aged into balance, trading chaos for quiet persistence. Every mountain range, every ocean, basin, every fault line is a record of this gradual calming. The Himalayas rise where continents collide, their peaks pushed skyward by forces that move only centimeters each year. The Atlantic Ocean widens as new crust forms along the mid-ocean ridge, spreading outward in perfect rhythm with the planet's rotation. Even earthquakes, sudden and fierce as they seem, are part of this larger, slower pattern, the Earth's way of adjusting its shape as it continues to turn and settle. The slowing spin also affects the alignment of Earth's axis, the invisible line around which it rotates. That axis wobbles gently, tracing small circles in the sky over thousands of years. This motion, called precession, changes which stars mark the poles, shifting the map of the heavens over time. As rotation slows, the wobble softens. The sky becomes a little steadier, the stars a little more constant in their place. In that subtle change lies a kind of cosmic poetry. As the Earth grows older, its gaze steadies. The stars it looks toward shift more slowly, as if the planet, like a wise being, has learned to look more carefully at the universe it inhabits. Yet even in this slow rhythm, there is complexity. The magnetic field, born of the planet's core, interacts with the solar wind to create the auroras, shimmering curtains of light that dance near the poles. They are the visible breath of the invisible field, a reminder that the deep earth and the outer sky are bound together. Each wave of light in the aurora is connected indirectly to the flow of molten iron thousands of kilometers below. The heartbeat of the core reaches all the way to the edge of the atmosphere. Without the magnetic field, life might never have endured. The sun's constant storm of charged particles would strip away the atmosphere, as it has done to Mars, but Earth's field deflects that wind, wrapping the planet in a cocoon of safety. Even as the spin slows and the field fluctuates, it continues to guard us, a quiet, enduring gift from the planet's turning heart. And though the magnetic poles wander, sometimes drifting hundreds of kilometers over a few centuries, the field itself remains a constant companion. It is an echo of the Earth's inner motion, unseen but vital, ancient but alive. If we could look into the far future, we might see the magnetic field fading gradually as the planet's rotation slows further and its core cools. Perhaps millions of years from now, the field will weaken enough to let more radiation reach the surface, changing the balance of climate and life. But even then, the process will be slow, gentle, the same calm patience that has marked every stage of the planet's long story. The slowing of the spin, the cooling of the core, the drifting of the continents, they are all part of a single narrative, the story of energy transforming into stillness. It is the same story told by every star, every world, every system in the universe. Nothing moves forever at the same pace. Everything seeks equilibrium. In that balance lies endurance. The Earth, then, is not merely slowing. It is settling into its true rhythm. Its rotation, once frantic and bright with youth, has become the steady heartbeat of an ancient being. Its core still glows, its crust still moves, its magnetic breath still whispers through the sky, but all in time with a gentler beat. If you were to place your hand on the ground, on the dark soil of a forest, or the cool stone of a mountain, you would feel none of this motion. And yet it is there, moving beneath you, shaping everything that exists. The planet turns, the core flows, the field hums, and every moment of your life unfolds within that vast, patient motion. The slow spin of the Earth is not something we see, it is something we live. It marks the passing of days, the shifting of seasons, the wandering of stars across the sky. It is the metronome of existence, set long ago, still ticking softly beneath the silence of night. And though it slows, it never stops. It will keep turning for billions of years to come, carrying with it the memory of fire and sea, of continents rising and falling, of life emerging and watching the stars. The planet's motion may change, but its song, that deep, unending hum, will remain. In the far future, the rhythm of Earth will be slower than any human mind can easily imagine. The days will grow longer, not just by seconds or minutes, but by hours. The planet will continue to turn, but with the patience of an ancient being. Each sunrise will linger. Each night will feel endless and still. This slow unfolding will not happen suddenly. It will come as all things on Earth come, gradually, through the soft persistence of time. The moon will continue to drift outward, inch by inch, stealing a fragment of Earth's rotational energy with every tide it raises. The tides themselves, once mighty, will become gentler, more measured, as if the oceans are learning to rest. In their pull and release, they will still whisper of the bond between Earth and Moon, two worlds forever connected in motion, forever exchanging energy in silence. As the spin slows, the balance of day and night will shift. Each day will stretch a little longer than the one before. In the far future, perhaps a single day will last 30 hours, then 40, then more. The rising and setting of the sun will come not as daily rhythm, but as an event, something to be awaited, savored, and remembered. The pace of time itself will feel different, as if the planet were teaching all who live upon it the art of patience. This change in rhythm will alter the climate in subtle ways. Longer days mean longer exposure to sunlight. The daytime heat will deepen. The nights will grow colder. The atmosphere will respond in wide, slow waves, great currents of air carrying warmth from one side of the world to the other, balancing extremes. The winds will lose their urgency, replaced by vast, gentle circulations that drift lazily across continents. Storms will take weeks to form, moving like slow dancers across the sky. The oceans, too, will adjust. Their surface currents, driven by the spin of the planet, will weaken. The great gyres that now swirl across the Pacific and Atlantic will slacken into slower, broader movements. Warm water will linger longer along the coasts. Cold water from the depths will take longer to rise. Marine life will evolve to this new tempo, creatures following currents that move like rivers in dreams. The polar regions, basking in months of daylight and darkness, will feel the change most deeply. Each summer will last longer, melting ice further inland, while winters will freeze the seas in silence for equally long spans. But this will not happen with violence. The transition will be drawn out over tens of millions of years, giving life time to adapt, to change, to find new forms of balance. Evolution itself will slow, not in decline, but in grace, adjusting to the planet's measured rhythm. Plants will grow in longer cycles, their blooms aligned with the slower turning of days. Forests may learn to store energy for the extended nights, holding light within their cells as memory. Animals will sleep and wake according to new clocks, their hearts tuned to the drawn-out pulse of the planet. Even the ocean's smallest creatures, the plankton that follows sunlight up and down the water column, will move in slower ascents and descents, as if the entire biosphere is breathing more calmly. Far into this future, the continents will not be where we know them now. Plate tectonics, the slow dance of the crust, will continue. Oceans will close, mountains will rise, new supercontinents will form and break apart again. Through each rearrangement, the slowing spin will influence their shape and motion. A planet that rotates more slowly feels gravity slightly more evenly, its equator less swollen, its poles less compressed. The oceans will redistribute, and the balance of sea and land will shift. Perhaps deserts will widen, or polar seas will grow. The pattern of climates will change as continents drift under longer suns and slower shadows. And yet, through all of this, life will persist. The slowing spin will not end the world. It will simply reshape its tempo. It will give rise to new forms of calmness in nature, new adaptations, new rhythms of survival. If intelligence still exists then, whether human or something descended from us, it will experience time differently. Civilizations will grow and fall within a single long season. A lifetime might pass between two sunsets. The measure of history will stretch, written in centuries of daylight and millennia of night. Perhaps those future beings will no longer mark time by hours, but by the slow tilting of the planet toward the sun, by the drift of light across continents. The slowing of the earth is, at its heart, an act of balance. It is the gradual exchange of motion for harmony, of speed for stability. And though the moon will one day reach a point where its drift outward stops, when its orbit matches the length of Earth's rotation, the story will not end there. At that moment, the two worlds will face each other forever, locked in perpetual companionship. The same side of Earth will always see the same side of the moon. The tides will freeze into equilibrium. Day and night will no longer alternate every 24 hours, but in cycles measured in months. The planet will then have reached what physicists call tidal locking, a state of rest between two bodies that have danced together for billions of years. It will be a moment of profound stillness. The moon will hang unmoving in the sky, a silent guardian suspended above one hemisphere. On the far side of Earth, where the moon never rises, the stars will never change. It will be a world of eternal patterns, one face bathed in moonlight, one forever gazing into the pure black depths of space. Yet even that stillness will not last forever. For while the moon tames the Earth, the sun continues its own long transformation. As the star brightens, it will warm the planet, altering its seas, its air, its very crust. The calm that comes from a slower spin will meet the fire of a more intense sun. Balance will shift again. Eventually, the Earth will give way to heat, its oceans retreating, its skies thinning, its life fading into memory. But even then, the rotation will continue, slower, quieter, until the last light fades. The planet will keep turning, even when there are no eyes left to see the dawn, no voices to count the hours. It will turn simply because it must, because it began that way, because motion is the echo of its birth. In the end, perhaps a day will last as long as a year once did. The sun will rise and set only once in an entire orbit. Time itself will seem to dissolve into a continuous golden twilight. The planet's spin, once wild and youthful, will have aged into a kind of serenity. That final stillness will not be failure. It will be fulfillment, the closing of a cycle that began in chaos and ends in grace. The Earth, born from fire and speed, will have found its way back to calmness. It will rest in the rhythm it created for itself, turning not to measure time, but to remember that it once lived. If there is beauty in the end of motion, it is the same beauty we find in rest after movement, in quiet after sound. The slowing of Earth's spin is a cosmic lullaby, a gradual, universal easing toward peace. And as the planet continues this descent into stillness, it will carry within it the memory of everything that ever was, the oceans that once rose and fell in moonlight, the forests that whispered in the wind, the creatures that walked beneath its sky, the voices that called it home. All of it will remain hidden in the rock, in the dust, in the rhythm of its final turning. When we look beyond Earth into the silent theater of the solar system, we see many worlds turning, each at its own pace, each shaped by its own rhythm. Some spin quickly, restless as they dance around the sun. Others turn so slowly that a single day lasts longer than a year, and a few no longer turn at all, their faces locked forever toward their parent star. The planets are not so different from living things. They are born in motion, burn brightly in youth, and slow as they age. Their spins carry the memory of their birth, the angular momentum left over from the swirling cloud that formed the sun and its family. And like Earth, their stories are written in rotation. Mercury, the smallest of the major planets, spins in a rhythm unlike any other. It rotates 3 times for every 2 orbits around the sun, a slow, deliberate turn dictated by the star's immense gravity. Its days are long and searing, its nights endless and frozen. If you stood on its surface, you would see the sun rise slowly, stop in the sky, drift backward, and then set again, a strange, hypnotic dance of light and shadow. This is what happens when gravity tugs so strongly that it begins to rewrite the rhythm of a world. Mercury's spin is not free. It is bound by the sun's pull, caught in a balance between motion and stillness. Venus spins too, but in the opposite direction. While almost every planet turns from west to east, Venus turns backward, slowly, elegantly, as if it has chosen its own pace. A day on Venus lasts 243 Earth days, longer than its year. Its atmosphere moves much faster than the surface below, wrapping the planet in constant swirling clouds. The sun rises in the west and sets in the east, but the transition takes months. There is no rush, no sudden dawn, only a long golden brightening followed by an equally slow descent into shadow. Some scientists think Venus once spun faster, perhaps like Earth, before its dense atmosphere and the sun's gravity worked together to slow it. Now, its rotation has nearly reached a kind of balance, a calm between day and night. It is tidally tempered, the edge of motion softened by time. And in that stillness, the planet burns under eternal light, its surface so hot that stone flows like wax, its air thick as water. Venus shows us what happens when slowing becomes surrender, when a planet gives its last energy back to the sun. Mars, our red neighbor, still spins at a pace not so different from Earth's, a day just over 24 hours long. It too has seasons, winds, and dust storms that rise and fall in cycles. But its rhythm is fainter, its energy thinner. Mars once turned under oceans and clouds. Now it turns beneath an empty sky. The slowing of its rotation is almost imperceptible, far less than Earth's. Yet it tells the same story, a gradual loss of momentum, a slow cooling of the heart. Perhaps one day, long after the last dust devil swirls across its plains, Mars too will drift toward stillness, its days stretching into silence. Farther out, the gas giants spin with astonishing speed. Jupiter completes a full rotation in just 10 hours, and Saturn in about 10 and a half. Their bulk makes their spin seem impossible. Vast worlds turning with hurricane force, flattening slightly at the poles, their atmospheres banded by winds that circle them faster than sound. But even these giants will not spin forever. The dance of their moons, the pull of their own gravity, and the slow loss of energy through tidal friction will one day ease their motion. The change will take longer than the age of the sun, but the pattern is universal. All things that move will one day slow. And then there are the moons, smaller worlds bound to their planets by tides and time. Most of them already keep one face forever turned toward their parent world, just as the moon does toward Earth. Their rotations have stopped relative to their orbits, achieving the stillness that gravity demands. Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto around Jupiter, Titan and Rhea around Saturn, Triton around Neptune, each one locked in perpetual rhythm, one hemisphere forever gazing at its planet, the other lost in endless night. It is a strange kind of eternity. From their surfaces, the sky never changes. The great planet above hangs unmoving, filling the heavens, casting light and shadow in constant patterns. Seasons do not exist. Time, as we know it, becomes circular, a loop of eternal sameness. And yet, within that stillness, tides still move through their interiors, flexing their crusts, generating heat and energy. Even in locked worlds, there's life in motion, unseen but enduring. Our own moon is one of them, a world tidally tamed by Earth. It no longer turns freely, but faces us always with the same gentle expression. And in return, it pulls on our oceans, slowing our rotation bit by bit, guiding our planet toward the same fate. The future Earth, too, will one day be like the moon, always showing the same side to its companion, its day and night frozen in perfect balance. Among all these worlds, we see the same law written in different forms. Energy is exchanged. motion is shared, and through that exchange, everything finds its equilibrium. The slowing of Earth is not a solitary event, it is a universal truth. Every spinning body in the cosmos carries within it the seeds of stillness. Over time, the dance of motion gives way to the calm of balance. And though each planet follows its own path, the destination is the same: quiet. Imagine then how the solar system might look far in the future. The sun, older and brighter, will shine upon a collection of slowly turning worlds. Mercury, drawn ever closer, may finally be swallowed by the sun's growing heat. Venus will turn so slowly that a single day will outlast its orbit, its clouds glowing orange and gold. Earth, tidally locked to its distant moon, will rotate in unison with it, the two bodies moving together like an ancient pair of dancers who have found perfect timing. Mars will drift farther into cold silence, its faint spin barely keeping pace with the dimming light. The outer giants will still whirl, but their storms will fade, their energy dispersing into the deep. In that far age, the solar system will be quieter, slower, gentler, a system at rest. The worlds that once spun with fury will have grown old gracefully, their motion softened, their orbits stable, their days long. It will not be a scene of ruin, but of peace, a great cosmic stillness born from balance. And through it all, the memory of motion will remain. Every atom in every world will still remember the spin it once carried. Every rock will bear the imprint of ancient tides. Every orbit will echo the music of the beginning, the rotation that began when the solar system was young and fiery. Even if no living thing is left to see it, the solar system will continue its slow ballet, each world a note in a symphony of gradual stillness. And in that quiet, there will be beauty, the beauty of completion, of motion finding rest, of time fulfilling its long promise of peace. For most of human history, no one could see the slowing of Earth's spin. The days seemed constant. The stars rose and set with perfect reliability. Time felt eternal, unchanging. The turning of the planet was the one thing people could trust absolutely. The quiet clock beneath every sunrise and every shadow. And yet, without knowing it, ancient observers were already keeping record of the planet's gradual slowing. Their calendars, aligned to the sun and moon, began to drift ever so slightly, century by century. The difference was imperceptible from one lifetime to the next, but written across millennia, it became a whisper of truth. The days were growing longer. The first people to notice the precision of the heavens were not scientists, but storytellers. The Sumerians, the Egyptians, the Maya, the Chinese, all looked to the sky and built their calendars from its motion. They tracked the shadows cast by the sun, the rising of constellations, the phases of the moon. To them, the heavens were not abstract. They were life itself. Each festival, each harvest, each season depended on the regular dance between the earth and the sky. When their records are compared today, the alignments of temples, the engravings of eclipses, the careful logs of celestial events, they tell a quiet, astonishing story. Across thousands of years, those ancient observers witnessed something we now measure in microseconds: the slowing of the earth. Eclipses recorded in Babylon or China no longer line up perfectly with modern predictions unless we account for a gradual lengthening of the day. Each century, the planet's rotation loses about 2 milliseconds, 2/1000ths of a second, too small for any human sense to detect, yet immense on the scale of time. That slowing comes from the tides, the endless give and take between Earth and Moon. As the oceans rise and fall, they create friction against the continents, converting the planet's rotational energy into heat and pushing the moon farther away. Every wave that breaks upon a shore carries with it the faintest touch of resistance, a tug that imperceptibly eases the planet's spin. Even now, as you read these words, the Earth is turning slightly slower than it did yesterday, an amount so tiny it defies experience, yet it happens all the same. When humanity began to measure time precisely, the secret became undeniable. In the 20th century, atomic clocks were born, machines that count time not by the motion of planets or pendulums, but by the oscillation of atoms, steady beyond imagination. Their accuracy exposed the truth that the Earth's rotation is not perfectly constant. It speeds up and slows down in tiny pulses, influenced by earthquakes, winds, melting ice, and shifting oceans. Time, it turned out, was not a smooth river, but a trembling wave shaped by the breath of a living planet. Scientists began to notice that the atomic clock, our perfect machine, and the Earth's own clock, its rotation, were drifting apart. A second here, a fraction there. The difference was small, but it grew. To keep the world's time aligned with the planet's spin, we began adding leap seconds, small corrections, 1 second at a time, inserted into our clocks every few years. It is a gesture of humility, a quiet acknowledgement that even in the age of technology, we still move to the rhythm of the Earth. Each leap second is a tribute to the planet's slow heartbeat, a reminder that time, as we measure it, is not entirely ours. It belongs to the turning of the world. But even our instruments of precision cannot capture every nuance. The Earth's spin shifts with the seasons, responding to the flow of air and water. When snow and ice melt in the spring, mass moves toward the oceans, subtly changing the planet's balance and making the days a fraction longer. When storms swirl through the atmosphere, the redistribution of air affects the spin by microseconds. Even large earthquakes can alter the day's length. When tectonic plates shift, they redistribute Earth's mass, changing its moment of inertia, the same way a spinning skater changes speed by pulling in or extending their arms. Each of these adjustments is tiny, but they are real, ripples of motion felt through the deep structure of the world, and scientists, watching carefully, can trace them like the pulse of a living being. We have learned to listen to the Earth's rotation using extraordinary precision. Laser beams bounced off mirrors left on the moon by Apollo astronauts allow us to measure the distance between the two worlds within a few millimeters. This constant measurement reveals not only that the moon is drifting away, but also how Earth's spin responds in kind. Every centimeter of the moon's retreat corresponds to a measurable slowing of our rotation, a delicate exchange of momentum across space. It is a relationship of exquisite symmetry. The moon moves outward, Earth turns inward. Energy flows between them invisibly, a cosmic tide between two bodies bound in gravity's embrace. For all our progress in understanding this motion, there is still mystery. Some decades, the Earth's spin unexpectedly speeds up, as if the planet takes a breath and exhales more quickly. Other decades, it slows. No single cause can fully explain the variations. They arise from the complex dance between atmosphere, oceans, crust, and core. The Earth's rotation is not mechanical. It is organic, irregular, emotional, alive. When we speak of time, we are really speaking of motion. The seconds we count are the Earth's turns divided into parts. The hours our agreement to name its rhythm. We are, in essence, measuring the heartbeat of a planet. And though we have learned to define time with atomic precision, the truth remains. Time began when the Earth first turned. Every sunrise, every shadow, every heartbeat since has been one more rotation in an unbroken sequence that connects the present to the dawn of the world. There is a quiet poetry in this, that the most accurate clocks ever built must still bow to the turning of the earth, that even in an age of satellites and quantum measurement, we live inside a rhythm far older than science itself. A rhythm written into the structure of the cosmos. Perhaps one day, long after we are gone, there will be no need to add leap seconds. The slowing will continue, but the keepers of time will no longer exist to mark it. The clocks will stop, the measurements will end, and only the planet will go on, turning at its own pace, steady, graceful, content. And even then, if the rocks could speak, they would still tell time. Every ripple of sediment, every fossilized coral, every frozen tidal layer would still carry the memory of days that grew longer. The earth has always recorded itself quietly and faithfully in the language of stone. Our instruments may fail, our civilizations may fade, but the planet will continue to count its rotations in the texture of its skin, and the universe, vast, silent, eternal, will keep the only calendar that matters, motion itself. Time, as we live it, feels like a current, something that carries us forward, never pausing, never turning back. We measure it with clocks, divide it into hours and minutes, and try to hold it in our hands. But beneath all those human inventions, time is something far older and simpler. It is the turning of the earth, the length of a day, the rhythm of light and shadow. That is the heartbeat of existence itself. Every second we know, every dawn we've ever seen, every night we've ever rested beneath the stars, all of it is born from that single, endless motion. When we say a moment has passed, what we truly mean is that the earth has turned. When we speak of years, we are speaking of circles, one spin after another, millions upon millions of them, each one carrying the weight of our memories, our stories, our lives. The slowing of that spin is not a failure or decline. It is the natural deepening of time. It means that the earth is aging with grace. It means that the very fabric of our lives, the pace of our days, the tempo of our hearts, is shaped by the gradual settling of a planet. When you think of time this way, it stops feeling like a line and begins to feel like a wave. It swells and softens, it stretches and folds back on itself. And just as waves slow as they reach the shore, so too does time as the planet eases toward balance. Imagine if the slowing of Earth's rotation could be felt. If you could stand still and sense the difference between this century and the last, the faint, invisible deceleration that stretches each day by 0.002 of a second. It would be imperceptible to the body, but immense to the soul. It would be like feeling the world exhale little by little across the ages. That slowing is not only physical, it resonates with everything we are. It mirrors the rhythm of our own existence. When we are young, we move quickly. Everything is urgent, bright, immediate. As we age, the pace softens. We learn patience, balance, stillness. The planet, too, has aged, from a frantic youth of fire and chaos to a mature calm, a slow and measured grace. It turns now like a wise being that has learned not to rush. This connection between planetary motion and inner rhythm is ancient. Long before science, people felt it intuitively. They saw time as circular, the sun rising and setting, the moon waxing and waning, the seasons repeating in perfect loops. They understood that life too follows these cycles: birth, growth, decay, renewal, all are reflections of the Earth's slow, steady spin. When we look at a sunrise, we are watching time made visible. When we feel the stillness of midnight, we are feeling the pause between moments. The Earth's rotation gives shape to all of it. Without that turning, time itself would have no form, only endless light or endless dark, a world without rhythm. But perhaps the most beautiful truth is this: slowing down does not mean stopping. It means finding harmony. Every system in the universe, from galaxies to atoms, moves toward equilibrium. Motion and rest are not enemies, they are partners. Without motion, there is no life. Without rest, there is no continuity. The slowing of the Earth is the universe's way of finding its balance, the blending of motion into peace. And we who live upon it are part of that balance. Our days, our thoughts, our very perception of time are bound to the planet's rotation. When it slows, the measure of existence expands. Time becomes wider, deeper, more spacious. There is something profound in realizing that time itself is a product of gravity and motion, that our most intimate experiences of past, present, and future depend on the turning of rock and water under a distant sun. When we feel that time is rushing by, we forget that the planet beneath us is constantly easing its spin, lengthening the very moments we think are fleeting. We are, in a quiet sense, living in the era of slowing, the age when the universe is teaching everything to move more gently. It's easy to think of the Earth slowing as imperceptible, mechanical, mathematical. But what if it's also emotional? What if this soft deceleration mirrors the way civilizations mature, from the frenzy of creation to the grace of reflection? The way stars cool into beauty rather than fire? The way even light, after traveling for billions of years, finds its end in silence? The slowness of the Earth teaches something modern life often forgets, that stillness is not absence, but presence. The planet's motion has never truly stopped. It has simply learned to move wisely, and in that wisdom lies peace. If we could step outside of time, far into the future, and look back upon our spinning world, we would see a planet not racing through space, but gliding, a perfect balance between speed and serenity. Every continent, every cloud, every ocean would be turning together in harmony, slow enough to last, fast enough to live. There's a kind of immortality in that. The planet does not cling to speed, it releases it gracefully. Each second it slows, it gains something even more precious: endurance. Longevity is not in the haste of rotation, but in the steadiness of balance. And perhaps that is the same truth for us. We measure life in years, in rotations of the Earth, but meaning is not found in how fast we move. It is found in how we move, in rhythm with something larger than ourselves. When we rest, we join the planet in its long exhale. When we move, we echo its patient turn. We are not apart from the slowing Earth. We are its reflection. In this way, time becomes not a cage, but a companion. It moves with us, not against us. It offers not limits, but rhythm. And in that rhythm lies the comfort that nothing, not even the slowing of a planet, is ever truly lost. Everything is merely finding its right speed. Someday, when the Earth turns even more slowly, when the stars above shift in patterns we can no longer name, the story of time will still be written in the sky, in the gentle drift of sunlight across the world, in the unhurried shadow of the moon, in the calm pulse of a planet that learned to move with grace. And if something beyond us is watching, a distant observer, perhaps from another star, they might see our world turning softly, beautifully, like a thought too delicate to end. They would see a planet that once spun with the wildness of youth and now turns with the patience of eternity. They would see that slowing down was never the end. It was the beginning of peace. Every heartbeat, every breath, Every rhythm in the human body echoes the turning of the earth. We rarely think of it that way, yet our entire sense of time, our waking and sleeping, our hunger and rest, our emotion and creativity, is tuned to the planet's slow rotation beneath us. It is not a coincidence that our bodies function in cycles of roughly 24 hours, a pattern known as the circadian rhythm. It is the biological whisper of the world's spin, the echo of sunlight moving across oceans and land, the memory of countless dawns and nights. Inside every human being, deep in the cells, molecules mark the passage of day and night. Tiny proteins unfold and refold, aligning themselves with the rhythm of light and darkness. These are our internal clocks, ancient as life itself, born in the first organisms that learned to open and close with the rising and setting of the sun. Even when kept in complete darkness, these rhythms persist. They continue to count time without clocks, without windows, without stars. The planet's rotation is written into the body's memory, an invisible inheritance shared by all life. When Earth's spin slowly changes, these rhythms shift too, but so subtly that we cannot feel it. Yet over the ages, as days lengthen, life has quietly adapted. Longer days and deep time shaped how plants photosynthesize, how animals sleep, how humans dream. Every living thing in its own way dances to the pace of the turning planet. Our cultures, too, grew around this rhythm. From the first sunrises painted on cave walls to the first calendars carved in stone, humanity has always measured existence by the motion of the earth. We marked our days not by numbers, but by shadows. We told stories by the moon. We built rituals around dawn and dusk, moments when the sky changes color and the world seems to breathe. To greet the morning or to watch the fading of light was to witness time itself. In every culture, the rotation of the earth became more than motion. It became meaning. In ancient Egypt, the rising sun was the rebirth of the god Ra, each day a renewal of life. In Japan, the sunrise is still sacred. The very name of the country means origin of the sun. In the Arctic, where the sun disappears for weeks and then returns, entire cultures evolved to honor its slow cycles. Across the world, human faith, art, and emotion have been built upon the patient rhythm of the turning earth. Music, too, is a form of rotation, repetition, and return. The heartbeat sets the tempo, the pulse mirrors time. Drums, the oldest of instruments, imitate the rhythm of walking, breathing, turning. Even melodies, rising and falling, circling through familiar patterns, echo the cosmic motion we live within. To listen to music is to remember that all life moves in waves. Painters have tried to capture the passage of light across the world, that slow, eternal movement that never repeats exactly the same way. Writers have filled their pages with metaphors of dawn, dusk, and season. Architects have built temples that align with equinoxes, monuments that mark the sun's path through the sky. Every act of creation, in some way, acknowledges the rotation of the earth. We are artists of time, sculpting its flow without ever leaving its embrace. Even our emotions are rhythmic. Happiness, sadness, rest, longing, they rise and fall like tides. The ocean's rhythm, born from the pull of the moon and the spin of the planet, is reflected in the mind's quiet fluctuations. It is why calmness feels like still water, why anxiety feels like wind, why peace feels like balance. We are mirrors of motion. The slowing of Earth's spin may be too gentle to feel, but in a way, our species reflects it in spirit. Modern life, for all its speed, has begun to rediscover the value of slowness, the need to pause, to breathe, to move deliberately. It is as though the Earth herself, with her long, patient deceleration, is teaching us to follow suit. To slow down is not to lose time, but to inhabit it more fully. To move gently is to align with the deeper pulse of existence. Across centuries, artists and philosophers have sensed this truth. Leonardo da Vinci watched the flow of rivers and saw them as reflections of time. The poet Rumi spoke of the world turning as a divine dance. The physicist Einstein wrote that time is woven into the fabric of space, that we move through it as the Earth moves through the cosmos. In each of these insights, the same realization appears. Motion is life, and slowing is understanding. There is also an emotional truth in the planets turning. Each sunset carries a small grief, the end of light, and each sunrise a quiet renewal. This daily cycle teaches impermanence, yet also continuity. No ending is final, no darkness complete. The Earth keeps turning, and in that turning lies both loss and hope. Our emotions follow that same curve, descent and ascent, shadow and illumination. The planet does not rush its return to light, neither should we. Even our stories reflect this. Myths of creation and destruction, of day and night, of cycles and rebirth, they all mirror the Earth's spin. Every culture has imagined the end of days, the slowing or stopping of time, and yet within those myths, there's always renewal, a new dawn, a new motion. It is as if humanity instinctively knows that even stillness is only another form of turning. In this way, the Earth's rotation is not just a scientific fact, it is the foundation of empathy. Because it turns, we all share the same sky. Because it spins, the day and night touch every life equally. The same dawn that wakes a city touches a forest on the other side of the world. The same stars that shine over oceans shine over deserts. We are united not by distance, but by rhythm. One planet moving together, one motion felt by all. If we could step outside and watch the Earth from afar, we would see a glowing sphere slowly turning in the dark, blue oceans swirling, clouds drifting, continents glinting in sunlight. From that view, no border matters. The whole planet moves as one living body, breathing through seasons, sleeping and waking through the endless cycle of its spin. It is humbling to realize that our smallest gestures, a heartbeat, a breath, a step, all happen inside that motion. We are carried by it every second of our lives. Even our dreams unfold within it, rocked gently by the planet's turning. When we speak of peace, perhaps what we really seek is alignment, to live at the same pace as the world itself, to breathe with the same rhythm as the wind, to move with the same patience as the tides, to be slow enough to notice the light shifting on a leaf, the shadow sliding across a wall. The Earth's slow spin is not only a fact of physics, it is an invitation to awareness. The more we learn about the universe, the more we see this pattern repeated. Stars rotate, galaxies turn, atoms spin. Every level of existence, from the smallest to the vastest, moves in circles, and all of them, over time, slow. This deceleration is not decay, it is the natural movement toward harmony. In the end, to live well may simply mean to live in rhythm, not faster or slower than the world, but in tune with it. To accept that each day the planet turns a little more gently, and that within that gentleness lies wisdom. The slowing Earth reminds us that peace is not the absence of movement, but the perfection of it. That we, too, are part of that long, slow dance through the stars, every breath, every thought, every story turning with the planet beneath us, following the same eternal tempo. In the quiet unfolding of the future, as the planet continues its patient slowing, humanity will face a choice, not of survival, but of rhythm. we will decide how we live within time, how we understand progress, and whether we move with the earth or against it. For thousands of years, civilization has measured greatness in speed: faster communication, faster travel, faster growth. Every generation learned to move more quickly than the one before, chasing the horizon of advancement. But nature, with her unhurried grace, tells a different story. The planet beneath our feet is slowing, not in decay, but in wisdom. It has learned that balance outlasts haste, that endurance is born of calm, and perhaps one day we will learn the same. When we finally begin to see time not as a race, but as a cycle, the shape of human life will change. Work will no longer be measured by hours, but by rhythm, by the flow of energy, the tide of attention, the seasons of creation and rest. We will design our cities not to dominate the environment, but to breathe with it, opening and closing like lungs, bright in the day, soft in the night. Artificial light may dim to honor the rhythm of darkness. Our technologies may learn to pulse, to rest, to synchronize with the turning of the earth. As our awareness deepens, even science itself will take on a new humility. We will study the universe not only to control it, but to listen to it. Every planet, every star, every molecule will be seen not just as an object, but as a rhythm, an expression of time's long song. And we will remember that knowledge is not a conquest, it is participation. To know something is to turn with it, to feel its motion from within. The slowing of the earth is an invisible teacher. It reminds us that strength is not found in acceleration, but in endurance. A tree grows slowly, yet it outlives empires. A river erodes mountains, not by force, but by patience. A planet spins for billions of years, changing its pace only by fractions of seconds, and yet those fractions reshape worlds. Perhaps in the future, humanity will live more like the earth itself, moving deliberately, creating with care, valuing what lasts over what shines. Our culture may rediscover the art of duration, music that unfolds over hours, architecture that honors the sun's path, storytelling that embraces silence as part of speech. We may find beauty again in things that take time, in craftsmanship, in seasons, in love that matures like stone. And yet, even as we slow our pace, we will continue to explore. The paradox of being human is that we crave both stillness and motion. We seek to wander among the stars even as we yearn to belong to home. When we leave Earth, to the moon, to Mars, to other worlds, we will carry this rhythm with us. Our heartbeats, our sleep cycles, our sense of morning and evening, all shaped by a planet that taught us time. Even on alien soil, under foreign suns, we will measure our lives by Earth's rotation. We will still count 24 hours, still feel the meaning of dawn, still remember the slow, steady spin of home. But perhaps the greatest gift of the slowing Earth will not be what it teaches us about the cosmos, but what it teaches us about ourselves. That everything we build, everything we dream, must one day find balance. That speed without reflection leads to exhaustion, just as motion without rest leads to collapse. That slowing down is not surrender, it is survival. When the planet's rotation was faster, life was simpler, elemental, oceans boiling, storms raging, fire and rock in constant collision. As it slowed, complexity arose: climate, ecosystems, consciousness. The softening of speed made room for thought, and maybe that is what humanity is now experiencing on another scale: a collective slowing, an awakening from haste into awareness. Imagine a civilization that moves in harmony with the Earth's deceleration, whose technology mirrors natural cycles, whose architecture aligns with planetary motion, whose energy systems pulse like the tides. a world where progress means deeper balance, not faster consumption. A future where time is not an enemy, but a friend, patient and generous. We might rediscover the value of the pause, the space between breaths, between notes, between actions. In that space, we would feel the turning of the planet, the whisper of its slowing, the quiet invitation to be still. Even our concept of mortality might shift. If the earth itself ages gracefully, why should we fear our own aging? The planet does not mourn the loss of speed. It embraces its new equilibrium. Perhaps we too will learn that wisdom is not the same as decline, that to move slowly is to see more, to feel more, to be more alive. Future generations may no longer speak of running out of time. They may speak instead of returning to time, of aligning their lives with the pace of the planet. Festivals could follow not fixed dates, but cycles of light and shadow. Education could flow with seasons of work and rest, thought and silence. Time itself would become not a schedule, but an atmosphere, a living thing. And maybe when they look back, they will see our era, this frantic, luminous century, as a kind of dawn, the last moment of human haste before awakening to planetary calm. They will read in the records how the earth slowed while we raced, and how, eventually, we learned to listen again. The slowing of the earth is the story of becoming mindful on a cosmic scale. It teaches that everything, even the largest things, find peace by degrees. The mountains rise, then erode. The oceans rage, then still. Stars burn, then cool. Worlds spin, then rest. And in that rest, they endure. When humanity finally learns to live with that rhythm, not against it, not above it, but within it, the line between nature and civilization will disappear. We will be what we were always meant to be, a species that reflects the planet it came from, slow, strong, luminous, capable of moving mountains not by force, but by patience, capable of creating beauty that lasts as long as stone. In that future, there will still be motion, tides, winds, thought, song, but all of it will move with grace. The earth's slow spin will be the metronome of meaning, the quiet pulse beneath every life. And in that rhythm, humanity will finally find what it has been searching for since the beginning. Not endless progress, not perfection, but harmony. There will come a time when the earth's journey nears its quietest rhythm. Not an end, but a transformation, a shift from movement into memory. By then, the planet will have turned billions of times, each rotation carrying the traces of wind and water, of life and thought, of birth and decay. Its surface will be older, smoother, softened by the patience of eternity. And yet, it will still turn, always turning. The slow spin will be barely noticeable, a motion so gentle it will seem almost still, like the breath of something dreaming. The continents will have drifted into new shapes, perhaps joined again into one vast supercontinent ringed by a single ocean. The moon will hang farther away, dimmer in the sky, but still bound by invisible threads of gravity. And the tides, once wild, will whisper across shallow seas, as calm as the pulse of a sleeping heart. In those days, the sun will shine more fiercely, its warmth heavier on the surface. The air will shimmer with gold. The planet, older and wiser, will have shed much of what it once carried. The forests, the cities, the restless noise of humanity. All that will remain will be silence, stone, and light. But the silence will not be empty. It will be full, full of memory. Every rock will hold the echo of waves. Every grain of dust will remember footsteps, roots, and bones. Even the mountains will carry the shape of once flowing rivers in their ancient folds. Nothing truly disappears. It only changes form. and the Earth, in its slowness, will have become the most perfect archive of everything that ever lived. Perhaps by then, new forms of life will rise, born from the long patience of time itself. Creatures that move slowly, think slowly, breathe with the rhythm of a world that has forgotten haste. They will live not in years, but in rotations, each turn of the planet a single heartbeat in their long, tranquil existence. For them, the Earth's spin will not mark time, but embody it. It will be the pulse of eternity, measured in centuries of sunrise and oceans of night, and even if no life remains, the beauty will endure. The planet will still reflect sunlight, still cast shadows across the void, still move in its orbit like a lantern drifting through the dark. It will not need witnesses to be magnificent. Existence itself will be its art. From far away, perhaps from the eyes of other beings in other systems, Earth will look serene, a faint blue glimmer orbiting a golden star, turning slowly, rhythmically, endlessly. They will not hear its winds or see its tides. They will not know that its rotation has slowed to a whisper. They will see only harmony, and they will call it beautiful. The truth is, slowing down has always been the destiny of everything that moves. The universe began with speed, an explosion, a rush, a scattering of light. But over time, the energy of that first creation has spread, cooled, calmed. Stars burn, fade, and rest. Galaxies drift apart in quiet majesty. Even light, the fastest thing in existence, eventually meets resistance, transformed, absorbed, reborn. Every motion, everywhere, seeks balance. Every journey ends in peace. The Earth's slow spin is part of that universal rhythm. It is not decay. It is the universe remembering how to breathe. And when the last day finally stretches beyond all measure, when a single rotation takes an eternity to complete, the Earth will not stop. It will simply merge with stillness. The final motion will be so soft, so gentle, that it will feel less like an ending and more like a sigh, a closing of eyes after a long, luminous life. But long before that, long before silence claims the last echoes of waves and wind, the planet will have already fulfilled its purpose. It will have carried life through eons, balanced sunlight and shadow, guided moons and tides, nurtured forests and mines. It will have turned for poets and wanderers, for children and stars. Every heartbeat ever felt was counted by its rotation. Every breath was borrowed from its air. Every dream unfolded beneath its slow and steady spin. If the Earth could speak, perhaps it would not speak of science or history, but of gratitude for the chance to turn beneath a star, for the privilege of holding oceans, for the miracle of being alive long enough to slow down. Maybe the Earth would say that slowing was never sorrow. It was understanding, that through motion it learned creation, and through stillness it learned meaning, that every world must one day choose between burning and enduring, and it chose to endure. The last light of sunset will fall softly across its surface, long and golden, painting the horizon in shades of amber and silver. The shadows will stretch into eternity. The stars will rise, ancient and patient, keeping silent watch. The Earth will turn once more, perhaps for the millionth time since it last knew life, perhaps for the final time before the dark, and even then it will not resist the slowing. It will surrender gracefully, as if bowing to the universe that made it. Somewhere deep inside, the core will still glow faintly, the last warmth of a planet that once blazed with motion. The heat will fade, but the memory will remain. The Earth will become a monument to time itself, a sculpture carved by gravity and grace. And maybe, when the sun too begins to die, when it swells into a red giant and folds its planets into fire, the Earth will drift once more, unanchored, turning slowly through the cooling dark of the cosmos, no longer bound to light, but carrying its own faint radiance, born of all it has ever been. For even in silence, the planet will still be moving, because motion never truly ends, it only becomes invisible. And time, though it slows, never ceases, it transforms. So perhaps there is no true end to the Earth's spin, only a deepening of its rhythm, a return to stillness that is not emptiness, but peace. A reminder that even the greatest motion in the universe, the spin of a world, the orbit of a star, is, at its heart, a form of rest. And as the universe grows older, more spacious, more tranquil, the Earth will remain part of that vast harmony, one note in a cosmic symphony that began in fire and will end in silence. Its rotation, slow and soft, will be the final echo of everything that ever was, a lullaby of stone, light, and memory. The Earth will not vanish. It will rest. It will turn. And in that turning, even as it slows beyond time itself, it will keep the last secret of the cosmos, that all movement, when followed long enough, becomes stillness. And all stillness, when understood deeply enough, is another kind of motion.